So North Dakota is on the cusp of um, really being progressive on some marijuana laws. Now, recently they voted in medical marijuana. Now, it turns out it's incredibly popular. It passed with 63.7% of the vote. So now the state, of course, is looking at drafting some of the rules. And look, they will actually go into effect April 1st. So it's actually coming up fairly soon. Now, the measure calls for legalizing marijuana to treat some medical conditions such as cancer, AIDS, and hepatitis C. Patients would need ID cards listing their criteria and things like that. So, look, this measure has come up in North Dakota before and hasn't passed, but this time now you have medical marijuana. But now they want to go further. Oh no, no. Actually, it's a good thing. North Dakota now has the marijuana legalization and automatic expungement initiative. Now, this measure is designed to legalize the recreational use of marijuana for people over 21 years of age, I believe. The measure would also create penalties for possession or distribution to or by individuals under 21 years. That's reasonable. And the measure would also create an automatic expungement process for individuals with convictions for a controlled substance that has been legalized and eliminate the state of North Dakota's immunity from damages resulting from these expungement lawsuits. So, look, man, you're moving forward on this issue. Um, how, I guess, how feasible is this?
Well, we have to first mention some quick history about marijuana as a whole. 2007, the legislators finally approved hemp. That took almost a decade to get going. 2015, some great Democratic legislators wrote up a medical marijuana bill that was denied by the supermajority. And then some very, very dedicated people who badly need this medicine got together and pushed the measure forward. They did it with very little money, and it passed, like you said, with overwhelmingly support. And you actually cannot find a county, a district, you can't draw any lines in North Dakota to find a spot where it did not pass. And now what's happened is the legislators delayed the measure, all of them except one, Pamela Anderson. You can look her up. She's a saint. And then they debated and basically took half of what we had and then debated some more and then got it back to about 80%. But what they did was the original measure said up to $100,000 for a permit to grow, up to $80,000 to
Mm-hmm.
grow. And the excuse from the two-party system is, well, there's this big implementation problem. Well, what they did was they said, no, it is 100,000. It is 80,000, and it's 5,000 to grow, or excuse me, 5,000 to apply for the permit for each
Wow.
one. And then these free market Republicans that run this state say we're only going to have 2 grow houses and 8 dispensaries. And I was in the rules approval hearing yesterday and in December when they first proposed these rules. The one dude was sleeping the entire time. That got a little annoying. And then the other guy, he's like, he didn't even have the measure or the bill in front of him. And so the whole time he was just confused and asking these confusing questions. And then you had great Democrats like Joan Heckman who are talking about rural jurisdiction and asking the health department about that. You
Mm-hmm.
had Mary Scheider who is talking about is this going to be enough? And they're only allowing 1,000 plants. They took away self grow. They've delayed this to the fact where people are running out of time, like my family members, and it they say sometime between October and December, medical marijuana will be ready for the patients. I find that really hard to believe when it's not even legal to grow yet, and the permit process will be available April 9th. Well, then they got to approve these permits. Then these people have to come up with $200,000, and then they have to get a building. Then they have to get all the equipment, and then they have to start growing. I find it very, very hard to believe that we're going to have medical marijuana this year. And I am a proud sponsor of full legal marijuana, like what you described earlier. And that is the route that I'm going, and many others. And that measure has a wave of support behind it from all sorts of people, and it's just tremendous. And it's amazing what's happening behind that measure.
So that's got me a little bit worried, right? Because that's a lot of money. Now, who has that money? It's not regular people who want to grow it for their own health. No, this is for
No.
corporations. This is for big investors and big business. Now, look, there's a it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. So we got like a double-sided or a double-edged sword, right? So on the one hand, like, okay, you get corporations in the mix, and now they're doing marijuana, and suddenly there goes your support, right? Your support is going towards marijuana because now there's money involved, and now there's corporate sponsored, and the corporations, once they get their hands on something and they can make a profit from it, well, there we go. But on the other hand, you're shutting out private growers with laws like this to make sure that private people still end up getting punished or they can't grow what they need to grow or what they want to grow, that they have to go to a corporation in order to get it. So there's your downside. So there's again two sides to this, and I'm seeing the downside happen as you explained it. It does not sound good.
And the other thing too is, every 2 years they have to pay this. So in
Wow.
10 years, in 5 bienniums, this business will have to pay $1 million in fees alone just to operate. That is zero business expenses. And then for the patients, they have to pay their fees. And
Hmm.
I don't believe this is going to be covered by any insurance because it's still Schedule One. Because over 30 states have medical marijuana, and many of them are going recreational. But the federal government, they'll never help out. They just confirm people like Jeff Sessions. And really, it's like you say, Merrill Pepcorn had a good speech on the floor during this debate, and he said it's not the state's responsibility to make it as expensive as possible. And he estimated it would cost patients up to $12,000 a
Wow.
year with no insurance benefits because it's still Schedule One. And then you have the banking system. Even if a guy like me could get $1 million loan, you can't get a loan because once again, it's federally illegal. So none of these banks will mess with it. And really, if we really want to change the banking system, we really need to take marijuana away from a cash system and then let banks and credit unions and such start operating with these people. Um, and it's just like you say, it's one thing after another, and it's just more of the two-party system kicking more cans down the road. They don't ever want to deal with this stuff, and the people are tired of it, and that's why we keep pushing ballot measures. It's the same thing with minimum wage. That's why we have a 15 an hour minimum wage ballot measure in North Dakota. We have an ethics committee ballot measure in North Dakota. There's several other ones that are still in the works, and the people are tired of it. And we are going to stand up. We're going to bring these measures forward, and the candidates who get behind them, we will help. But the candidates who do not get behind them, don't even ask.
So are you saying that you can't get a small $1 million loan from your family, from your dad?
Over a 10-year period, you would have to have at least $1 million just in the fees.
Yeah, it's disastrous, but I was making a little bit of a Trump joke there.
Oh, sorry. I gotcha. Yeah, yeah. People like Trump who have millions of dollars in their bank account. Yeah, right
And
on.
that's
Good for
exactly,
him. But
yeah,
it's not going to help me when they take away self grow. And
that's right.
my grandmother's in the hospital, basically being forced into an opioid addiction that supposedly all these Republicans are against. I mean,
That's
the
a great point.
hypocrisy of the whole thing is mind blowing.
That is an excellent point, and that's exactly why. Look, again, yes, it's good that it's going legal in a lot of different states, but look who's getting control over it. The corporations, and they're gonna crush the little guy. And
Who and once again, these corporations who would never come out and help support the measure when it's going through, they would
right,
never come and help the North Dakota legislators in 2015. But now all of a sudden, they set it up that way, and then okay, now they're going to come in and help. You know, the other crazy thing about the medical marijuana thing is, and I don't know if other states do this, but all their security has to be linked to the Department of Health, which they can give to the police force without any warrants at any time.
hmm,
And that's another thing too, that these Republicans who are anti-government and all this, they continue to sneak these things in, and it's really disgusting. I mean, I believe in surveillance of your personal property. I totally get that. But to think that these patients who need medicine must be surveillanced by the government when they're inside the stores, and that information is available to other government agencies. And like I say, we don't even have an ethics commission in this state at this time. It's troubling, and it's worrying me.
yeah, absolutely. That does sound very problematic. Again, I'm a big believer in, personal privacy, and so yeah, that's another problem, and it seems like it could be a problem down the road. Because what if Jeff Sessions comes calling to North Dakota or anywhere else that's able to share that information? Are they gonna voluntarily give up that personal information to go and prosecute people because it's still federal and illegal? I don't know, and that again, you're putting into the hands of people who aren't necessarily in it for the greater good, and not in it for the reasons that the activists who pushed this and got a lot of wins on this were in it for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.